You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got a must-win late yesterday afternoon against their rival Cincinnati Bengals. They swept them. They're 8-7. Mike Tomlin now staring in the direction of yet another not losing season. Credit to him. Now, yesterday I put out a video, no notification on it, but that video's out there if you want to go watch it. It's going to be the last video before this one, but Mike Tomlin allegedly and supposedly, and this was reported by PFT on the right before the game started pregame show, that the Steelers do intend to give Mike Tomlin a contract extension before the start of the 2024 season. I assume they will do that early on because it will absolutely influence them being able to get a big-time offensive coordinator, which they need. Now, many of you today are probably thinking, hey, we got something in Mason Rudolph maybe. I said yesterday, what if Mason Rudolph is the second coming of Geno Smith? Somebody that looked like a bona fide bust. And then you look up, and here you are with two legitimate starting football productive seasons out of Geno. Could that be Mason Rudolph? It's one game. And George Pickens has come out, and he silenced his critics on the field. Now, the question is, if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, are you okay with the Steelers as an organization continuing to put up with a very disgruntled wide receiver just because they perform on the field? Personally speaking, and I'm not a Steelers fan, I still wouldn't want it. But the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, they've got a pedigree for putting up with guys like him now. So it's kind of hard to say that's not their culture anymore, because this is how many receivers in a row that's acted like this. Antonio, Juju, George Pickens, Chase Claypool. You're starting to get my point. So let's look at this, because this has to do with the Seahawks game next week. It's a massive game. Per TribLive.com's Joe Rutter, and this is Bleacher Report, Mike Tomlin said that it's too early to decide if Mason Rudolph will be the starter next week as the Steelers take on the Seattle Seahawks. Mike Tomlin went to Rudolph over Mitch Trubisky on Saturday, giving Rudolph his first start of the season. The 4-year player had a strong outing, notching 290 passing yards and a pair of touchdowns. And he was helped out in very large part by George Pickens, who had a career kind of game last night. And maybe, although he looked at the camera and did like this and still did some things on the sidelines that make you scratch your head, but for last night, he certainly did step up and contribute. Now, he's gotten destroyed by everybody. I mean, you're seeing it right there. Jalen Warren and Bill Cowher both criticized Pickens. Of course, that lack of effort on a block. But last night, man, he showed up in a big way. Pickens had just 4 receptions on the day, but half of them were scores. And he racked up 195 yards on those catches. Now, if you're talking about Pickens, one of the things that would concern me is 195 of those 290 yards were on 4 of 17 passes. So the other 13 passes only garnered you, yikes. Not a ton. So his 13 completions that didn't go to Pickens went for 95 yards. Harris ran for 78 yards on 19 carries. That's Najee. Jake Browning looked a little bit more back to earth, although even at times last night, he still looked like a legitimate starting quarterback. He was slinging the ball all over the field, still threw for 335 yards, but he actually turned the ball over 3 times. That's a problem. It was a must-win game for the Steelers. Entering the contest, They ranked 10th in the AFC. Now they have the tiebreaker over the Bengals from sweeping the season series after both teams moved to 7-8. Playoff standings, folks. Right here, the Bills are officially back in the playoffs as of today. A scary game for them last night against a not very good Chargers team. I don't know what's going on with the Bills playing down the competition. Their playoff probability is now 75%. That will make things tougher on the Steelers. They've moved up to 9th. They're 2 spots out of the playoffs. Playoff probability, 15% right now. 15%. So it is still very much a long shot. As you can imagine, they probably need to win out, and they're going to need some other things to happen because the Colts beat them. Guys, losing to the Colts really caused the Steelers some real issues with the idea of being able to get to the postseason. Because there's the Colts. They've been in that 6th and 7th spot, back and forth, down to 8, back to 7, back to 6, down to 8. But they're in front of them. And the Steelers need to get past them or something, and they don't have the tiebreaker. So that's a massive problem. One of the reasons I wanted to do this video was not only talk about the game and talk about the fact that George Pickens, look, let's just keep it real, showed his ass. Showed his ass last night on the field, the place where you actually want him to show it. But as a Steelers fan, are you okay with his attitude and at times not giving 110% effort versus having a great game every third game or something? Okay, I understand that superstar wide receivers are hard to come by, but I just wonder, as a Steelers fan, as a blue-collar city, are you really okay with that? Because I would bet a lot of Steelers fans are still not okay with it. Still not okay with it. But you've got, and I wanted a better sense of how people feel about the fact that Mike Tomlin, now, Tomlin still has the ability to say, no, I don't want to come back to the Steelers, but the report is the Rooneys and the Steelers and Mike Tomlin both want to come back together for multiple seasons, and Tomlin's already making moves behind the scenes, player personnel, things of that nature, as if he will be back, which is one of the things that scare the shit out of Patriots fans right now. They want Bill Belichick gone. They're scared he's still making decisions based on him coming back next year. Well, so's Mike Tomlin. But at 51 years old, it's a little bit of a different story, right? And the Steelers got 8 wins and not 3 like the Patriots. So, there is substantial difference, and the Steelers are not devoid of offensive talent by any stretch. They've got real weapons on this team. Their weapons have attitude problems, but they got real weapons. And, man, they still act like they rely on Najee Harris too much. I would still rather see Jaylen Warren get the bulk share of the work. Harris had a decent game last night, and I get it, but I like the other kid's game better. I do. I feel like Harris was sort of a miss. So, by the way, has anybody noticed how James Conner played when he was actually in the lineup for the Cardinals? Yikes, he was having a big season before he got hurt again. He got hurt again, so that's part of it. Tell me what you think. The Steelers still got a lot of work to do. Do you want Kenny Pickett against the Seahawks? Do you want Mason Rudolph against the Seahawks? All interesting questions, but for 1 week, and we'll have to see how the rest of this week plays out in the media and everywhere else, but for 1 week, George Pickens clapped back at his critics on the field. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.